Hi everyone, I'm Rutelier, reporter at The Big Whale, and today I have the pleasure to host Paolo Ardoino, CEO of Tether, the biggest stablecoin issuer of the space, with the famous USDT, of course, a stablecoin that inspires, I would say, as much admiration and as distrust for some people. So we're going to talk about all of this during this interview. But first, a simple question, Paolo, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I always have a lot of fun in our interviews. Last was during the Paris Blockchain Week.
Exactly. It was in April of this year, and that's a perfect occasion. This podcast to have more news about Tether, because Tether is moving forward like the entire ecosystem. So we have many topics to cover during this interview. We will discuss, of course, the Tether roadmap, regulation, and much more about this. And I'd like to take this opportunity, to remind the audience that each week the Big Whale is focusing on a special theme, and this week that's going to be dedicated to stablecoin. So that's perfect to have you, Paolo, to talk about stablecoin and about Tether. So to start this interview, I will go back to the news about the Dirham stablecoin that you want to launch. So first, you announced this stablecoin pegged to the United Arab Emirates dirham. So why on this currency after the dollar and the euro?
Yeah, so I think that UAE dirham is one of the most interesting currencies in the world. So we started with USDT, then we tried with the euro, then we issued Mexican peso and a Chinese offshore yuan offshore, and then Tether Gold. In order of success, we have USDT. There is almost no comparison. Second is Tether Gold,
Okay.
and third, very, very, very distant is Euro Tether. We launched Euro Tether in 2018. So I think that over time we learn really what people want, and actually although we are the creators of the stablecoin industry starting in 2014, we understood over time better and better the exact dynamics of stablecoins, right? Because for the reason for which stablecoins were created, the first USDT was created was to improve the efficiency of the cryptocurrency trading markets. But over time, starting in 2020 especially, the USDT has become the digital dollar for emerging markets and and developing countries. Sorry. So that change in behavior coincided with actually the growth, an incredible growth of market cap of USDT. Now, one of the learnings that we had is that stable coins are much more powerful, and this might be counterintuitive for at the first sight, but stable coins are much more powerful outside of the country that are the national currency is pegged to. So for USDT works much more outside the US rather than inside. Right? The way I describe it is that I remember that during our interview you made a little bit of fun of me because I, as Italian, I always come up with analogies, like colorful analogies, but it's like selling an ice bucket to an Eskimo, right? So that if you sell it to US people. But outside the US, you have 5 billion users, 5 billion people that live in high inflation countries, and 3 billion people that are unbanked. So they are not bad people, they're just too poor of being interested in the banking system, because in order to operate a bank account it would cost between $50 and $150 per year. So there is a massive opportunity for the US dollar outside the US. So now let's try to think about it in the context of the euro. And unfortunately, the euro doesn't work that well outside of Europe. And then same you could say between for the Chinese yuan offshore and the Mexican peso. But we have seen, especially in the last 10 years, that the UAE dirham actually has been increasingly more used for remittances. Think about, there is a huge corridor of trade finance between India and Asia and UAE, because Abu Dhabi and Dubai are placing themselves as the place to be for the new finance, right? So commodity traders, hedge funds are all moving to Dubai. I mean, I'm sure that you have many friends and collaborators that are looking at Dubai as one of the places where to move, and so that jurisdiction is incredibly popular. And so what is happening is that we have seen a huge corridor also, not only on one-sided corridor, but it's almost two-sided corridor where money is flowing back in form of UAE dirham and US dollar, but USD dirham, UAE dirham is quite adopted there as remittances corridor and payment corridor back from UAE to India, to Philippines, to Vietnam, and many other countries. So this shows that actually the utility of the UAE dirham is also very dominant outside of the UAE itself. So that made us comfortable in thinking that it could be a very successful stablecoin pegged to the UAE dirham. Also because the UAE dirham is pegged to the US dollar, so you have an optionality to another currency, but it's still pegged to the US dollar. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I think that will definitely become, if not the second, at least the third most popular Tether stablecoin.
Interesting. Do you think that one day all currencies will have their own stablecoin? I would say we talk to many banks, and especially with the SG Forge, for example, and they believe that there are going to be many stablecoins in the following months and the following years, according to the regulation and according to this very attractive business currently. But at least there will be just 5 or 6 big stablecoin issuer in the world. They're going to issue in so many currencies. So do you believe that each currencies, or I would say legal currencies in the world, will have their own stable coins?
We have to divide it between privately issued stablecoins and the government issued stablecoins, right? The government issued stablecoin is the CBDC, central bank digital currency. And we have seen many governments being interested into that. Well, also the European Union is discussing about the digital euro and the potential, circulation limits and how it will work and how it will operate, right? So definitely many countries are looking into issuing their own stable coin. Now, it's also possible that private companies will start issuing private stable coins for all the different 190, 250, I don't know exactly how many there are national currencies. I think that but as I said before, some make more sense than others, right? I think that for a private company, also there are operational costs that are very, very important to think about, and the compliance costs, right? So Tether for USDT and for all the stable coins works with the 140 law enforcement agencies across more than 40 different countries. Imagine doing the same imagine you have to issue 100 different national currencies. The cost of operational costs will be insane, right? So it's very, I don't believe in that future. I believe that for sure countries, governments will issue their own CBDC. I think many of them, especially in the emerging markets. For example, if you look at the US, there are some bill proposals to try to ban the Congress
CBDC.
to allow the Fed to issue a CBDC, right? So it's still a very hot topic, but I don't believe there will be few that the Tether will start launching like 50 different national currency stablecoins.
Okay, I see. But to finish with this topic, do you believe in CBDC? Because, for example, in Europe, there is so many players. They don't want to say that so publicly, I would say, but they are not believe in the CBDC for retail, for example. and even for the wholesale market, because that's not going to be like competitive, and it's more efficient for government and for an economic space, an economic area, to have private stable coins regulated by a central bank, for example. So, do you believe in a CBD in CBDC, for example, in the United States and in Europe or all over the world, except, for example, countries like China, maybe, but all over the world?
Well, I mean, I'm the guy of for the bold takes, right? So especially, you remember our discussion around MiCA. That was, very, very timely and quite disruptive in a way, back in April. So I think that CBDCs are tricky. I don't like them. You could say, of course, that I'm biased because could be competition to privately issued stablecoins. But the problem with CBDCs is that it's really hard to understand the impact that it would have on a country and a territory, right? So nowadays, if you have a credit card, you go in Paris, you buy a coffee. What happens is that that transaction or that purchase stays between you and the bank or the issuer of that card. The government does not have access to that information, at least if the bank is not subpoenaed. Now, imagine a future where with a CBDC, the government will have access to the full ledger to understand every single transaction and review every single transaction that every single citizen has done. So in a way, the government will, for the first time in history, because with cash you couldn't do that, for the first time in history, the government could geolocate every single citizen in the country and could understand every single behavior for every single citizen. So I think it's very, very scary. And of course, some governments will say, well, but we are adding a privacy layer. Sure, but the privacy layer works until the government decides that in their opinion you did something wrong. And the problem is that we are seeing nowadays, and depends on the country, what is the threshold of doing something wrong, right? You have mentioned China, but it's so subjective that is a slippery slope. So I think that having privately issued stablecoins is a better form of money, of course, well regulated. That is very important, but I think is a safer choice for the citizen.
I see. So according to what you just said, many entrepreneurs, at the helm of stablecoins are betting on the fact that they are largely the future of the legal currencies. So, for example, electronic money in Europe or in the part of Asia. So, from this perspective, that's kind of an opinion shared by, as I said, many entrepreneurs. The United States is particularly well positioned with the USDT and the USDC in the new digital economy to spread the dollar. So, are you therefore participating, Paolo, in spreading dollar hegemony throughout the world? Because most of the time, not so many people ask you the question, but right now, the stablecoin market is completely dominated by the dollar. I would say completely because it's 90%. So, yeah, by the USDT, United States are in the top, for the future in the currency. And are you in spreading dollar hegemony throughout the world via the USDT? Because the USDT is the biggest one, stablecoin, dollar and stablecoin at all.
Yeah, it's quite fun because as a Bitcoiner, it's an interesting dynamic. But I think that one of the Tether actually did two huge innovations. One is the fully reserve banking, right? So we have, as a stablecoin issuer, we have to have more reserves than the total issued tokens. And also, the other interesting thing is that think about a person purchasing USDT in Argentina. With those reserves for that purchase, we are going to buy US debt. So on one side, as you said, we have the US dollar hegemony. So we are spreading farther the US dollar across the world through digital means. And that is a service that is unprecedented. But even more importantly, I would say, 2 years to 3 years ago, China had around $2 trillion worth of US debt. Now
Yes.
they have less than 800 billion. So what we are doing, and so in China has a single decision maker basically, or a group, a very small group of decision makers that they decided to sell the US debt. Now imagine instead to have 350 million people that independently can choose. That is a level of resiliency that is unprecedented to help the US debt to become not subject to the decision of one person, but all these people, all these 350 million people will not decide to sell at once. So that is a feature that not many think about. That is incredible and very, very important for this moment in time for the US economy.
I see. I see. I'm asking the question once again because, in my opinion, the U.S. government has no interest in destroying Tether or sanction Tether because you are one of the largest, as you say, a buyer of the American debts, because that's a large part of your business model right now. So we can discuss later
Yeah.
on the diversification about this. But right now, that's the case. So, but also because you participate in spreading the dollars throughout the world. So, you know, we can go on this subject right now. There is cutting rates just in front of us. Normally, we can expect in that in the following months. So, what kind of plan do you have to diverse your reserve right now? That's mostly detained into or invest in the T-bills, American T-bills.
So, look, we are making now around 5.5% on our T-bills.
Billion.
We have so we have around 100 billion in US Treasury bills. That would put us at, if we were a country, at the 18th place in the rankings of countries holding US debt. So our plan is actually increase the percentage of T-bills that we own.
Okay.
Even if they cut 25 basis points or 50 basis points or 75, even if they cut 30%, which I don't believe, it's which would be very risky because then you could see inflation really ramping up again and so on. I really don't. I mean, I think that for the next several years, interest rate will bounce between 2-3% and 6-7%. So we don't. We think that that will be the norm. But even let's assume that we'll stay at 2%, right? That would be, at this stage, $2 billion per year, right? It's, our company was making 50 million, 100 million in profits 3 years ago, right? So I think we would be very, very happy even with 2%, even 1% is $1 billion, right? So at this stage, this is a volume game, right? So the more, clearly it makes sense with our market cap. If we had 1 billion in market cap, wouldn't make much sense. But also, given, think about the fact that, being very vocal, we didn't take out much money out of the company, out of the profit. So we made around $12 billion in profits in the last 2-3 years, and basically most of it is actually inside the company. So now we are at a stage where we outside of the reserves, through a different arm that is an investment arm, we started investing in AI, in Bitcoin mining, energy development, telecommunications. So we are diversifying ourselves in terms of investment and in terms of industries. But even our baseline, when it comes to our financial arm, that is basically the stablecoin issuer, I think will remain bright for a long time.
Okay, I see. And are you planning, for example, to increase your exposition to Bitcoin, or maybe I know you are not a fan, but one day to ETH, to Ether, for example? Is it realistic to think about this?
So Bitcoin, we issued a statement that said that we are purchasing up to 15%. Bitcoin with up to 15% of our net operating profits every quarter. Now, we plan to continue to do so.
Okay.
Look, when it comes to Ether, the problem, that I have, I don't want to get polemical here, but, with Bitcoin, I know that there are only 21 million ever, right? Whatever happens, and, there is, no matter what will happen, what catastrophes or craziness will happen in the world, 21 million will be. With Ether, like every few years, I see like the supply of Ether, total supply of Ether changing. So as a company, even if either you are a fund or a company, it's unpredictable, right? So you have a group of developers that will decide, the new monetary policy of Ether. I don't want to be subject to that.
Okay. Okay, I see. Let's go to after this because there is so much ongoing about regulation and Europe. Once again, it's a good occasion to make a point on this. So um, recently, you announced the hiring of JC Spiro, who previously managed government interaction for Chainalysis and PayPal. So that's not that's a lot. That's a figure regarding that. So what does this hire mean for Tether? For the future and the close future for Tether?
Well, Tether is a growing company. Well, of course, when we think about the regulations and government affairs, we think about only the stable related to stable coins, and that is, of course, I would say in this moment the bulk of the work that we do. But we are growing the team. That we have an amazing licensing team, regulatory team, and we are building the government affairs team. Because it's not just about stablecoin, right? Technology is pivotal to us. We invest in AI, we invest in telecommunications, we build our own peer-to-peer communication software, we invest in energy. Everything is related. So every single thing of in these industries is regulated. So we are very proud, although there are still some skeptics. We're pretty proud that of what we demonstrated in terms of working with law enforcement, working with regulators, working with in enormous amount of jurisdictions. No bank, no institution in the world would even think about interacting with 140 law enforcement agencies in 40 countries. Of course, we need the best in the class, right? So Jesse is a great addition. Recently, we also we hired Philip Gradwell, still chief economist from Chainalysis. So we are putting together a team that can serve the company and our vision for long term, because we believe that Tether has a long-term mission in disrupting different sectors and bringing disintermediation to so many different sectors with the learnings that we had from USDT. So we want to do that in a very compliant way, and that's why we always have to hire the best in class.
Okay, so JC is not going to focus only on USDT, but the entire company Tether and many fields that you invest, to my understanding.
At the beginning, of course, will be USDT, but again, you see that regulations on AI, AI safety,
yes,
telecommunications, think about what happened, and even what happened to Pavel recently, right? So all boils down to licensing, regulations, and government affairs. So that everything is goes back to that point.
Okay. In the press release after the hiring of Jesse, you said that this hire showed that Tether was in favor of responsible innovation. So I'm very curious, what do you mean by that? By responsible innovation, special apply for Tether in this case?
When you build a product, you have to be aware of how the product is going to be used, right? So you want to make sure that both the regulators and the users have the best understanding on which are the product features and product capabilities, because you want to make sure that it's a net positive for the world. As a company, it's not all about the money, at least for us. We want to make sure that with the 350 million people that are using USDT across the world can use it in the safest way possible. And that, for example, you mentioned both. You mentioned Jesse and I mentioned Philip. They were hired from Chainalysis. That is a great partner for us, right? We work with them. We are using their ecosystem monitoring tool. We are using different other products that they develop over time. We develop our internal products. And it's very important that when we talk to regulators, when we talk to people in Congress, for example, we need to be able to showcase that crypto is not a bad word. Well, definitely there are a few bad things in crypto that we didn't like. Let's think about FTX, but or scams or hacks. But also there are great opportunities and there are great tools that were unknown to the traditional financial system. Again, there is no way that any bank would work with so many law enforcement agencies or has the tools, the granular tools that we have at Tether to fight illicit activity, right? So we are so granular and capillary, and that again is unprecedented. All that requires proper education, and what Jesse will do, for example, is also impart education for people in Congress and for people in other other politicians that have to vet the laws to properly understand what are stable coins or what Tether is up to, because we want to be transparent. We want to provide the maximum access to our train of thoughts and to our vision.
I see. According to what you just said, what kind of relationship do you have with American authorities? Because it's often said that Tether is very controversial, as you know, of course. In April, you said that you are one of the most surveyed company in the world. Maybe that's closer to the truth. So, yet you claim that collaborate with the authorities. So as we can see, there is some frozen address sometimes and with reports, so as a normal company. So what kind of relationship do you have with American authority right now? Do you have a special one, or?
I think our collaboration with American authorities, first of all, is voluntary, and this shows. Let me do a step back, right? So we could stablecoin issuers can act in two ways. There is one that is what others do, that is waiting for a court order. So law enforcement has to go to a judge, get a court order, and then you can freeze assets. Second is what Tether does. We work directly with law enforcement. We think our way is the right way, right? Our USDT is a centralized stablecoin. So as a centralized stablecoin, we have to abide to the banking requirements. And if law enforcement comes to us, we cannot hide behind a finger. Like I feel like our competition is, sorry to say that, but is doing so. Even in these days, I'm not sure if you follow, there is this guy called probably the best investigator in the crypto industry called Zach XBT.
Yes.
That talk about this problem. So he could vet our ability and our speed in complying with law enforcement requests. And when you have exchanges that get hacked for tens of millions of dollars, when you have people that are, scammed, no other stablecoin does anything. That is what he's complaining about. Only Tether does something. So that is just a parenthesis. But we onboarded the United States Secret Services and the FBI on Tether, so that, for example, we could process reissuances and help with the restitution. So the level of collaboration that we have with U.S. law enforcement is very important. Recently, the Department of Justice issued, through one of their statements, issued a statement to Tether for the collaboration in an investigation, and that happened different times. So I'm very proud of the work that we have been doing at Tether, although it's controversial, but it's controversial because it's not known, right? So many things are controversial because people, don't spend enough time on the topic.
But how do you explain this reputation? It's are you not, I would say, like fed up by this reputation that you are the bad guy in crypto? Because most of the time it's Binance and Tether, I would say, uh, in the headlines most of the time. So how do you explain this even right now?
Look, there are with there are different things that happen, right? So and there are competitors that we have seen it even recently. There were some trucks in New York and some advertisements, diminishing, the work that Tether has been doing for the last years in terms of compliance. Very sad. I mean, if it was a competitor trying to resort to these techniques to win, it's very sad. Speaks very poorly about their ethos, their philosophy, their ability to do business. If that's the way you win, I'm sorry for you. But that's that part. Then there is traditional financial system. I mean, they definitely are seeing that we had a better idea and they're jealous. That's classic lobbying to try to kill progress in order to maintain your aquarium intact. That is understandable. Then there are like the diehard conspiracy theories. They should get out from the basement of their mother. I don't have much to say to them. But in general, look, I think that the controversy helped us a lot, helped us to strive for better. I mean, I think that the perfection does not exist, but you have to. The more you get attacked, the more you have this fire inside you that you want to prove it that is not what they described of you. You want to show to the world that you are actually the real deal. And so I think without all those attacks, without all that conspiracy, without all this uh, you know obsession also from mainstream media around Tether would not be what it is today. So in a way, I thank that.
Okay. And what do you want to do regarding this reputation? Just continue as you are doing, or for example, you are planning we're gonna see more recruitment of this type, like Jesse from Tether in the coming months, for example. Not only to prove about your reputation, but to increase because you are in so many fields, and stablecoin is gonna grow and gonna grow and gonna grow. So yes, according to that and according to the growth of the ecosystem about stablecoins, um, can we will we see more recruitment as JC in the coming months in Tether?
So, and I know you didn't mention that way, but recruiting doesn't matter in the sense that hiring a person that has an important name is not a solution to the problem. Well, of course, helps, but we need, as a company, we have always worked with regulators and worked with government, and so we just need the best people to carry on with that and increase that work and increase the reach. So what I'm basically saying is that if you hire a person and you keep him in the closet, that doesn't help, right? So it's just a marketing event. And we saw some competitors doing so, and then nothing changed. For us, I mean, we hire people that really can make the change, not only for us, but for the industry. We believe that Tether is in the right place to guide the entire industry because we really do care about the 350 million people that are using us, right? That's why we didn't distribute much profits because we believe that we have a lot to build, a lot to prove, a lot to help, and so we consider Jesse and Philip and all the people that we hired recently, and from the beginning of times, we think that they are crucial for us to help us to deliver that message, to educate on our philosophy and our vision. So for me, our co-workers, the best co-workers are their family that married our vision, and they see the goodness that we are trying to achieve.
You know, as you mentioned, last April at Paris Blockchain Week, donc we interviewed you, particularly about Europe and MiCA, because it was one of the hottest topic at this time and still now. So you state that you had not no plan, but at this stage you have no plan to be regulated in Europe. You will also continue to talk to regulators, but today have you start? I wouldn't say a regulatory process to be regulated in Europe, but my question is, uh, if we're gonna see Tether regulated under MiCA after the 1st of January in 2025.
So that's a question. So we're still working through our concerns. You know, I saw we had the interview, right? And so I think I was grateful for the interview that we made together, because that was a way. You know how after that interview, I I received so many messages from people, from other CEOs, from other people in the industry in Europe, thanking me, saying, Paolo, you had the courage to say out loud what everyone is thinking. And that was, I was very proud of that, but also concerned about it. Because, I don't think regulators need yes men. Regulators need people, need the industry giving them feedback, real feedback on the regulations. And I saw our main competitor received, or is applying as received the license. And then later, after receiving it, said, oh, by the way, Paolo was right. The MiCA regulation is risky. That could pose a systemic risk also to European banks, right? Remember the issue that I explained is the 60% in 60% of
the reserves
of
for
reserves.
significant
Yeah,
stablecoins. Yeah.
exactly. So that is very that is very boring in my opinion. And the reason for that is, let's make a simple example, right? You have 10 billion euros as market cap of a European stablecoin. Then you have to keep 6 billion euros in uninsured cash deposits in the bank, because that is basically what is being asked, right? So then you have these 6 billion euros, and we know that the banks can lend out up to 90% of the reserves. So it means that 5.4 billion euros can be lent out by the bank to people that want to buy a house and build a business, and 600 million, that is 10%, will remain in the bank. Now imagine that the customer comes back and wants to redeem 2 billion euros. Then you go to the bank and ask for 2 billion euros, but the bank has only 600 million. So the bank has to go bankrupt because they don't have the money to fulfill your request. And you, as a stablecoin issuer, would go bankrupt because you cannot process the redemption. So even our main competitor, after the fanfare of getting the license, said, oh, by the way, it's very, very risky. So I think I'm very in favor of regulations, but regulation should reduce the risk, should not increase the risk. So I have a duty to be to protect the hundreds of millions of people that are using USDT daily in emerging markets. So while I wish we could get regulated in Europe, I have to be very, very cautious.
Okay, but what we can expect in the following months, according to your talk with the regulators, can we expect and change some changes regarding the level of the reserve, for example, for significative stablecoin. So can we provide for us some insight about this, because we so many people are wondering about this, especially stablecoin issuer and companies, because we can talk to this later, but right now we don't know what does it mean if, for example, you are not regulated under MiCA, for example, for many companies, for treasury, for payment, for I don't know, for cash management.
Well, I think that there are still many unknowns, by the way, in the MiCA license, right? So not everything is yet fully defined. I mean, I keep talking to people in other companies in Europe, and everyone is scratching their head. How is possible, right? So that, but everyone tells me, look, we don't know if what are the limits, what we have to do. We are still discussing. We are still figuring out. So it's not just about stable coins. Everyone actually is very, very confused by the requirements. And plus, basically, so many companies are subject to different regulators, right? So you have the Italian regulator, the French, the Austrian, and German, and Spanish. So each regulator will have a different view on how to apply their rules as well, right? So that is the other feedback that I have. So on our side, we are still, for example, we receive feedback from different exchanges that they think that they can keep USDT within, listed also after, the 1st of January 2025. But also, we are not, standing still. We keep having discussions. We are exploring our options. So I think that eventually, and I hope more than I think, but also I hope that the regulator will see our points and will not take or push these risks on the banks first and then on the stablecoin issuers second. So I think we still have to wait, and these are not fast processes, unfortunately.
Okay. But are you in active lobbying, I would say, in Europe regarding all of this?
I think lobbying is not the right word. It's just
Yeah,
open discussion.
okay. Okay, so open discussion is still ongoing with so many regulators
Yes.
across Europe. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. Interesting. But um, before that, what is Europe for you? Because you have the Euro T, so you Euro stablecoin, as you mentioned, and several signs indicate that it's finally the start of this market for Euro regarding stablecoin. So according to our information, so many banks, so many players are going to launch a stablecoin euro. So at the beginning, so what plan do you have specifically for your euro stablecoin, the Eurot? If maybe it's a Eurot. It's a Eurot. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a Eurot.
Is your T? That's a good question. So we are actually, soon enough, we are going to launch a platform. I will not unveil the name yet. That is a tokenization platform. It's all our technology,
So
Tether
so so
technology.
so sorry, Paolo. It's a tokenized that you mentioned for Bitfinex. This is this one, or this is another one?
It's different. So Bitfinex is an
Okay.
exchange, and it has
Yes.
security and can trade securities.
Yes.
But what we did at Tether is we took all the technology that we built for stablecoins in the last 10 years, all our compliance tools, all the integration with Chainalysis, ecosystem monitoring, know your transaction, all the smart contracts and everything, all these experience. And we packaged it in a white label solution. And
Okay.
it will have a very cool name, which I
Okay.
will not unveil, and will be launched in late October.
Okay.
And now with that technology, we are talking to different players because they are interested to use it in Europe. Many
Okay.
players are interested to use it in
Okay.
Europe. So
And
I
why
think,
Paolo? It's they are interesting by euro. Sorry, I cut you, but because that most of the time it's a really interesting question. Of course, if you are going in this history, like every currency gonna have some stablecoin on this. All right, that's quite logic. But why right now some people want euro right now
well,
for
I think
crypto?
that, so I think we have to distinguish between the usage of USDT and the usage of euro, euro. Not all the national currencies and stablecoins will have the same homogeneous usage. So I told you that the USDT is mostly used in emerging markets, developing countries by poor people to hedge against inflation and so on. Right? That is the main usage. It's a 5 billion people market, potential market. Now, euro, the way, and you mentioned it, right? Banks, Europe is a very different place. So if you go outside of Europe, no one wants the euro, right? So if you go in Argentina, they don't care about the euro. Go in Vietnam, they don't care about the euro.
Yes.
Go like in Asia, like same, right? Uzbekistan, they don't want the euro. Everyone wants the dollar. So you know for sure that there is no market of a euro stablecoin outside Europe. So that is your axiom. That is the initial assumption. Now, what you know is that Europe has thousands and thousands and thousands of banks and hedge funds. You have the MiFID hedge funds. You have the USITs. You have like all these funds, right? They will want eventually to use to have faster settlements and so on. So I see the potential of a euro stablecoin to be used in traditional finance. That is something that will happen. So I think two different use cases between US dollar and Europe. I don't think they will merge. So that's why we are discussing to provide our technology to many different players in Europe for this very same reason.
Okay, and what kind of player? It's of course you're not gonna give some name, but maybe yes. But what kind of player? That's gonna be for settlement, for payment, for banks, for.
So we are discussing with a few banks, and we are discussing with funds, with startups, with also Web2 players like payment processors, right? That it's very diverse. The
Okay.
The customer base on this topic and product, but I'm very very bullish on it. It's very exciting.
Okay, and when it's come to this discussion about MiCA, if you are not regulated under MiCA, what's going to happen for them? Are they worried? Of course they are, but is it a huge
No,
problem in the discussion?
no, it is not, because we are just tech providers.
Okay. Okay. Regarding that, but to use to use your product or to use your technology, that's different.
Yeah,
As you okay.
exactly. That we would be tech providers. So as I said, we packaged all our technology in a white label solution. It's like using AWS or Google Cloud, right, to launch a website.
Okay. It was on September the 6th, Tether mint 1 billion USDT. So it was like revealed on chain by Arkham. So most of the time it's happened, because you have a huge market cap right now. So just can you explain the minting process? And in general, what type of client buy your stablecoin? Because that's a huge question. 1 billion is a lot. So why and where this billion go usually?
Yes. So first of all, I think that there is a bit of misconception. When people see that transaction, they think,
Yes.
oh, someone bought 1 billion.
Yes.
If people now mock me because I always leave a message under like the whale alert tweet that says this is an authorized but not issued transaction.
Okay.
And in our FAQs, it's very well explained on our website. So let's go through it. Right? It's important that listeners understand it well. Tether has a very strong security model. So what we do is that we have the private keys that can we have the private keys that can create the tokens to be put on chain. But that billion went to the treasury wallet of Tether. So from that treasury wallet will stay there and will not count towards the liabilities, will not count towards as, no one bought it. So it's just something that stays there. Whenever a customer comes to Tether and wants to issue USDT, their request for an issuance, then we will take from the Treasury wallet that has a different set of private keys, and we will send to the customer. So in this way, the reason why there is this setup is that imagine if for every single customer request we had to access the private keys of Tether, like of USDT. We want to touch them the least possible. So we want to have two sets of private keys. One that does let's say the minting, the creation of the tokens, and the second one is the one of the treasuries that reduce the risk. So we create some USDT, we place in the treasury. They when they get requested, we send them from the treasury. And when the balance on the treasury gets depleted towards zero, then we do it again, right? So we create another billion, we put it in the treasury, and so on and so forth. If we have a lot of redemptions, the redemption stays in the treasury. When they exceed a certain amount, we burn them and we destroy them. We remove them from the blockchain.
Okay. So very important to clarify that for the audience, maybe, because most of the time there is so many misunderstandings about all of this. Paolo, it's quite the end of this interview, but I like to ask this question for starting the interview or to finish the interview. You are now since 10 years ago engaged in this space. Maybe if I'm not wrong. So what kind of leg do we still have to have a better adoption and to have a mass adoption in the future? And what it's still like, for this for this space to go to the mass adoption, or especially about stablecoin, because it's especially your field.
Well, I think stablecoins are actually the best use case for mass adoption because it's not a new concept. It's just money moving on a different transport layer. People have been using have been using cash, have been using banks, payment processors, credit cards, PayPal, Venmo. Like USDT is just, I don't know, Venmo but on a blockchain. Like we are still centralized as PayPal or these guys, but we just use a decentralized, transparent transport layer for the US dollar. So I think the fact that we are not creating like and it's an innovation, because it is a huge innovation, and it's programmable money, is cuts intermediaries when unnecessary intermediaries and so on. But it's not like we are creating like an entirely new concept, right? So for that reason, I think stablecoins are the living proof and the best use case for blockchain so far. And that's something that will keep growing, because unfortunately there are still so many people that will need to have an edge against the inflation in their own countries. So I'm positive on that.
Okay. I just forget, but I have one more question. You said that so many CEOs call you just after our interview. What kind of CEO? Not, of course, given some name, but European one, American one, because for many American player, MiCA is a serious, it's a regulation because they want to enter in Europe in this market. So, what kind of CEO call you? European, American?
Mainly European. Lot of European ones said to me the very same thing. Well, you have the quote unquote balls to say what we all thought.
Okay. I see. And in which field? Is we can
in crypto, of course.
Okay.
No. So, it's like all the European, well, not all, of course, but many European players reach out to me, thanking me for speaking aloud on my concerns. Again, it's important that regulators understand that if the industry has a concern, it should be raised.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Paolo, for this at least 1 hour together. Uh, we know that you like to express what Tether is and to clarify so many points about all of this. So thank you for your time. I remind the audience that this week or the next week, because we are recording on on this week, but the next week that's going to be dedicated on stablecoins. So we're going to focus on this topic in the Be Well and produce some very interesting analysis. So stay tuned. And Paolo, thanks again for your time. If you have a conclusion about the stablecoin and to, I would say, encourage entrepreneur around stablecoin and crypto, what will be your advice?
I think that stablecoins are going to replace the way people interact with money. So if in your company, your business, you are not looking at the stablecoins, I think now is the right time to start.
Okay, okay. So thank you for this last word, and thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this interview, and good luck for your roadmap, Paulo, and for
Thank you for
the
having me.
following months. Thank you.